All right, what's going on, everybody? It's Fast Cars, Fast Money, and we're coming out with the first 2022 NASCAR DFS video of the year. So, yes, we are back for this season. We'll be breaking down the NASCAR slates all year long, whether it's the Cup Series, Xfinity Series, or the Truck Series. This video specifically is going over the Cup Series at Daytona. But before I jump into that, I just wanted to go over a couple of quick housekeeping items. So, every Thursday, we'll be posting a video on YouTube going over our initial thoughts, strategies for the race, our initial gut reaction on pricing, some things that we want to be mindful of, some things to look out for. And then the morning of the actual race, we'll be posting a final thoughts, interest levels, reasonings behind who we like, who we don't like over on our Twitter, which is at FastCarsFM. So expect videos on Thursday and spreadsheets, the day of the race, usually after qualifying. So just wanted to mention that if you're looking for, where to digest our content. And goal that we have is really just to get up to 1,000 subscribers. We got up to about 260 last year as being brand new, which was pretty good. Don't know if we can hit 1,000 at the end of this year, but if we can, it would be great. So if you're new here, or if you've been here and you haven't subscribed already, hitting the subscribe button definitely means a lot to us. But anyways, the reason you clicked on this is because you want to know, who should I be playing on Sunday for the 500. So like I said, this is going over really the Cup Series, but if you are playing the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series, a lot of these principles more or less are the same. They apply just because of the type of track that we're at. But you're going to hear it from all the different people you talk to. Doesn't matter, what content provider you're looking at or what article you're reading. Everyone's going to say stack to back. Well, what does that basically mean? Basically, it means the majority of your drivers should be starting 20th on back. And the reason for that, when you come to the super speedway races, is there's still some unknowns with the new car, but generally speaking, you're going to be racing in a pack, inches away from each other the entire time. It just takes one person to make a mistake or one person to get in an accident to potentially cause a huge accident, which then wrecks out a ton of the field. And if you can get through that wreck, you're going to be gaining a ton of place differential points. So it's really three ways to earn points in NASCAR DFS. It's finishing potential, place differential, and dominator points. The dominator points more or less get spread out because the draft is kind of the equalizer. So you might have a guy that gets out there and leads a handful, maybe even 20 plus laps. But if they wreck and get negative 20 place differential points, it doesn't really matter. Fast laps are going to be spread out just with whoever is getting the best draft that lap. So really it comes down to, I want to roster guys who can get me positive 10, positive 15, maybe even positive 20 place differential points. If a guy starts fifth and wins the race versus a guy who starts 30th and finishes fifth, that guy who starts 30th and finishes fifth most likely is going to outscore the guy who only gains a handful of place differential points. So basically, you want to roster guys in the back and root for X. Good way to do that then is just filter the field by starting positions. Doesn't really matter who the driver is. And just basically, find your cutoff ranges and select your drivers accordingly. Don't worry about salary. Salary doesn't really matter this week. Feel comfortable leaving money on the table. It's also a good way to get different. Basically, every driver is in play this weekend. Don't even be afraid to play some of the ugly plays because, yeah, they might be completely off the pace and not in the draft, and they might be, multiple laps down. But if they can avoid the wreck, just through pure attrition, they're going to be gaining you positive points. So don't be afraid to roster some of those ugly plays in the back because no one else is going to be playing them. It's a good way to get different on the field as well. Probably a good rule is don't have your slate open while the race is going on, especially if you are stacking a lot of guys from the back, because it's going to look very ugly. But the slate can tilt at any point with, potentially one wreck or multiple wrecks. So if it looks like it's going bad for a majority of the race, that's okay. It only takes one lap for the entire slate to change. Usually when you get to these tracks where you're building multiple lines with multiple drivers, so it's good to definitely, get different exposures, get different drivers in your lines. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. But if you are, like I said, it's better to be rostering drivers who start further back than rostering drivers who start further up. Another thing is we like to play the ownership game a lot when we get to these tracks. So like especially for this slate, like there's so many chalky drivers in the back. So being able to just pivot to a guy who starts right next to him who maybe doesn't have the same type of equipment or the same name recognition, like they have just as much upside as that high owned play. So don't be afraid to pivot off some of those easy plays that look like slam dunk plays, because anyone has the same probability of wrecking. And because of that, you also kind of have to just cross your fingers and hope for the best. So to give you a little bit more of a visual, here is the spreadsheet that we have. You can kind of see, who the drivers are, their salary, where the grid, where they start on the grid, and kind of our interest levels. We'll post this on Twitter so you guys can get access to it. But generally speaking, as you are going down further in the list, you're going to see our interest levels are continuing to get higher. Why is that? Well, like I said, the way that you score points is finishing position, dominator points, or place differential. Finishing position is going to be kind of hard to nail, but if you can get drivers who are finishing towards the front, obviously they're going to be scoring you better points. And if you can get drivers who are gaining multiple positions to earn that final finishing position, that's really the slam dunk plays. That's really how you get to the optimal lineup. It's pretty hard to predict dominator points. Like we don't know if they go single file, who's going to be the leader. We don't really know who's going to be picking up the fast lap. So you kind of just have to throw that out the window. So the way that we broke it up is we did, 1 through 10, 11 through 19, 20 through 29, and 30 through 40. Our cutoff point is basically 20th. So maybe 5 of our guys are starting 20th on back, or 4 of our guys are starting 20th on back. It doesn't really matter who it is. I'd have exposure to all of these guys. You can see the guys we're high on and the guys we're relatively low on. Really, the only cars in the back that we're lower on would be BJ McLeod and the F1 driver JV, just because both of them, their pace was very completely off, and them potentially just having single car mechanical issues is a lot higher than some of the other plays back there. But both of them should be really low on too, so don't eliminate them from your player pool. But it's more or less a lot of the same stuff that you've heard year over year. Roster more guys from the back of the pack and sprinkle in a couple of guys, maybe starting 20th on up, especially in GPPs. But if you're playing cash games, like 20th on back is definitely the way to go. So we'll post this on Twitter. Nothing really too much different than all the other super speedway videos that we've put out there, but definitely wanted to get this out there before Sunday comes around. Any questions, drop them in the comments below. Lineup questions, you can also ask us over on Twitter. It's at FastCarsFM. But that'll do it for the Cup Series video. No video for the Truck Series or Xfinity Series. We'll be posting a spreadsheet for those on Twitter, but more or less, just play a lot of the plays from the back and sit back and kind of root for X. So that'll do it. And should be a fun year with everyone this year.